comments. We'll check out the entire 41-car starting field for the Coca-Cola 600. We'll also let you take a look at the top 20 qualifiers for the Champion Sparkplug 300. That's set for the Busch Series cars Saturday here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But as we break away right now, we'll check out the top 10 in Winston Cup points heading into Sunday's race at Charlotte. So take a look. We're coming right back to more of your calls live tonight from Charlotte, North Carolina.
One thing about fast food places is they have breakfast waiting for you, and waiting for you, and waiting for you. But at Dunkin' Donuts...
Coming right up.
Welcome back to This Week in NASCAR, tonight live from Charlotte, North Carolina. As you can see in the grandstands, the folks never even bothered sitting down at Talladega during the running of the Winston 500. And there's Jimmy Spencer on the yellow and black car using every degree of that 33-degree banking there, and you brought her home second. Can you imagine the reaction had you managed to get to victory lane driving for Bobby Allison in his home state? That was a heck of a run for you.
It was, you know, one thing about it was that I told Bobby that it'd be great to come home and win her in Alabama before we even went there, and we tested real well there, and looked forward to it, qualified outside pole and ran strong. So now Bobby says we might have to wait to Pocono, my hometown, so hopefully we don't have to wait that long. You know, we got the 600 coming up, and then Dover, Delaware, and on into Pocono, so I think we're going to pull the Meineke Ford in the winner's circle this year sometime. For those of you just joining us, we want to welcome you into the show. Tonight from Charlotte, Jimmy Spencer is our guest. I'm Eli Gold. We say hello to those of you in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut joining us now on the Madison Square Garden Network. We also say hello to George, who's joining us here with a question at the studios of WTVI in Charlotte. Good evening.
How you doing, Jimmy?
Good.
I was wondering, you've gotten the nickname of Mr. Excitement. I don't know if this is your first 600 you've run, but if it is, are you going to change your driving style any? Because it's such a long race.
I think that my nickname, Mr. Excitement, came many, many years ago.
The modified days.
The modified days. Yep. And the thing about the 600, it's an extra 100 miles. But I think the guys do such a great job preparing our race cars that they could probably run 700 or 800 miles and still finish. But, you know, sometimes also you got to contend with how long the race is. Yes, I will try to change my driving style for the 600 for the simple reason you have to finish first you have to finish. So the driver is the key important part there. So we'll slow down a little bit in certain stages when we know we're fast enough to not get a lap down. Hopefully we'll be strong enough to be in the top 5 and like we were last fall and pull out a solid finish. And I believe that you really think so, but I wish I had a dime for every driver who over the years has told me, all right, we're going to take our time, we're going to lay back a little bit, not get lapped, we're going to be there at the end, and they drop the green flag and zoom, gone they are. Eddie is watching in Houston, Texas tonight on HSE. Good evening. Hello, Eddie, are you there?
Congratulations on your year that you're having so far, and I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, do you agree with the speed limits that they put on you coming down the pit row? And the second question that I have for you, I don't know if you've heard of Texas World Speedway or not, but earlier this year, Dale Earnhardt, Ken Schrader, and Darrell Waltrip came down, and we had a great turnout for it, and I was just wanting to know if y'all were going to be coming down here next year or not, and really looking forward to seeing y'all. Thank you.
I think the speed limit is a great rule. I think it's a good question because a lot of people overlook the speed rule. But we all remember what happened, I think, about 2 years ago at Atlanta. We never want that to happen again. The Winston had a special qualifying Wednesday or Friday night. Right. And they threw out the pit road. The guys hit the pit road at 110 mile an hour. It's not good. And I think NASCAR's done a real good job. They do an excellent job policing it.
Does Jimmy Finnig, your crew chief, have to ride you pretty good? Because I've got to think you're out there doing 195 at Talladega or whatever speed it is, and all of a sudden you got to come and woe it right down. Does he have to ride you pretty good on the radio to make sure you don't get penalized?
He does an excellent job. I'm really, really happy with Jimmy and Bobby, Allison team, the whole team. And Jimmy, remember pit road speed. Remember pit road speed. And as soon as he tells you that it puts it in your head, and you know that you're on your tack and you're in third gear coming down, and you need to get it down to about, usually it's about 3,500 in third gear, and it's about 4,000 in second. That's still pretty fast on pit road, but it's a controllable speed that we have good control, that when we do come in, that nothing usually happens.
And of course, as far as Texas World Speedway is concerned, NASCAR Winston West ran there, as you mentioned, along with ARCA. Nothing yet as far as the future. Winston Cup has run there in the past. I remember many a trip to Bryan, College Station, Texas. But as far as right now, nothing on the schedule. Of course, that's one great thing about NASCAR. If you wanted to accommodate every racetrack in America that wanted to race, we'd be running 365 days a year, because there's not a track that wouldn't like to see the Winston Cup or Busch Series there, but nothing in the horizon right now. Ken is joining us with a question. Good evening to you from Indiana. Hello.
Yes, I have a comment to make first about the race going to come up in Indianapolis. I was lucky enough to be over there last year and get to see the fellows run the one day.
Yes, sir.
Enjoyed it tremendously.
Super.
And my question is for either Jim or Eli, and that is, I watched Wednesday night when they had qualifying for the upcoming race.
Right, it was seen right
and they
here
only
on Prime.
accepted the first 20 fastest time, and then the other fellows then qualify later, as I understand it. Why is it all times aren't accepted? And really, that's my question. Thank you very much.
It's always a 2-day, and in some tracks a 3-day procedure.
Well, everybody's time the first day, and that time stands. And then the next day, the only cars that are locked into the field is the top 20 from the previous day. Now, you can be 27th, 28th, you could be 21st fastest, and you can stand on your time by a certain time. NASCAR says, okay, you can stand on your time by 9:35 in the morning or 1:35 like it was today.
Right.
Or you have the option of trying to requalify and be 21st fastest is the best you can do. And then get it naturally a Busch wildcard shot for the Busch Clash.
So that's just been the procedure now for quite a while. Want to welcome those of you watching on Home Team Sports, just joining us following Baltimore Orioles baseball this evening. And you join us just in time for us to remind you that we'll be in your neck of the woods next week with this show. Next Thursday night, we'll be at the studios of Home Team Sports in Bethesda, Maryland. We've got Coach Joe Gibbs and his driver Dale Jarrett joining us. We wish everybody could be there in person, but there is a limited space in the studio, so it's going to be by invitation only. But certainly tune in right here on Prime Network next Thursday. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be up in Jimmy's home state of Pennsylvania. We'll be at the Ramada Inn on Route 940 in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. This week in NASCAR, heading north of the Mason-Dixon line here in 1993. We're coming right back to more of your questions. Right now, here are points positions 11 through 20 in the Winston Cup standings heading into Sunday's race. We'll be right back. This week in NASCAR, there's Jimmy Spencer getting serviced in the Meineke Ford at Sears Point International Raceway, the road course a couple of weeks ago. And Jimmy and I, we've laughed about it in the past. Road racing and Jimmy Spencer are words that rarely are used in the same sentence. But I'll tell you, you went out to the Skip Barber Driving School, your instructor, Jim Clark, not the old Formula One ace, but nevertheless, you went out and you're trying to learn the art of road racing. And the car wasn't running all that badly for a good part of the day.
No, Eli, you know, this is interesting because hardhead, so to speak, myself, I said, I don't need to go to school. So for 3 years, I went to, that was my third trip to Sonoma. For 2 years, I didn't go to school there, and twice at Watkins Glen. And I said, you know, Bobby Allison was telling me about foot pedal and everything, and he said, I think we need to send you to school. And I said, oh, come on.
I need that.
You know? And it's the best thing I've ever did. I picked up, from my qualifying previous with the banquet car out there to the Meineke Ford, I picked up 2.5 seconds. So I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. It is hard to believe.
And Watkins Glen, not quite as testing as Sears Point, the guys say.
No, it's a lot, in my opinion, a lot nicer facility for the simple reason there's not as many blind spots.
Yeah.
Very, very smooth, and a little bit more runoff area. And Sears Point has got some blind spots and bumps and very challenging. But I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to Watkins
Good.
Glen.
Ron is watching in Leominster, Leominster, Massachusetts this evening on the New England Sports Network. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm just fine. I'd just like to wish Jimmy all the best of luck in this race coming up, the 600.
Thank you.
And I'd have two questions. One is, how are the numbers assigned on cars? Where did he come up with number 12? I mean, how does that come into play? And secondly, will we ever see foreign engines in NASCAR, like the Japanese engine or even European engines like Ferrari or Lamborghini or anything like that?
Well, a couple of good questions. First of all, as far as the numbers are concerned, the numbers are owned by the different racing teams. Bobby Allison had number 12, and Jimmy uses that as Bobby's driver. The Wood brothers own number 21. If you want to secure a number, for instance, Darrell Waltrip has number 17 now. That number used to belong to Roger Hamby when he drove in Winston Cup racing, when Darrell wanted 17, which is a number he used to use years ago when he was a kid in Nashville. There was compensation that Darrell Waltrip's team made to the Roger Hamby team. The only reason you'll really see some numbers switching, aside from a personal preference, is there are sponsors who will come along. When Sunoco was in the sport, remember, they had that Sunoco Ultra 94 octane gasoline, and they wanted their driver at the time, Terry Labonte, to have 94 on the side of the car. When 7-Eleven was in the sport, the Wood brothers wanted to have 7 or 11 to accommodate their sponsors. So you'll see that happening. As far as foreign engines are concerned, I guess we should put up the word that says commentary right here. I certainly hope not. And I don't know if any of the foreign manufacturers even have an engine in the works that would get the job done, and conventional 358 8-banger cubic inch engine there.
I'm funny. I'm American. I've been raised with Hudsons and Nashes and AMCs, which Bobby's won with, and
Right.
Chevrolet and Fords.
Yep.
Pontiacs. I'm a diehard American, and I hope it never happens.
Jimmy Spencer is our guest as we go to Pam in Springfield, Missouri with a question. Good evening, Pam. How are you?
Hi, Eli. I'm fine. How are you, Jimmy?
Good. Thank you for calling.
Good. I have a question that either one of you can answer, but I'd like to say, Eli, I wish you'd really pass it on to the executives of Prime Network. Last night's coverage at Charlotte was wonderful. I don't get to see, much qualifying back here.
Sure.
And it was really good coverage.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I question that if either one of you would answer. I noticed watching the Indy time trials that they run like 5 gallons of gas, to keep it as light as possible. And I want to know if Winston Cup cars had to carry a full tank of gas or a partial tank. And also, Jimmy, if you'd do me a favor, I'd really appreciate it. I think your biggest fan lives back here in the Ozarks. Her name is Cindy Ross. She comes from a racing family, and it doesn't matter what anybody does, how exciting the race is. It's always, I was so proud of Jimmy Spencer. Did you see where he finished?
Great. That's good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Sandy, and keep up that strength, because we're going to win some races. As far as inspection, as far as qualifying,
yeah.
When we go through the NASCAR inspection, we have to meet a stringent template rule, a weight rule, and the weight rule in turn makes you fill up full of gas. So when we go across, every car weighs 3,500 pounds. Every car will fit a template and a height stick, and we've already seen a lot of cars disqualified for being an 1/8 inch too low and things.
Right.
So NASCAR does an excellent job, and you won't see a guy run only 2 gallons of fuel in our car, or he won't run just 3 or 4 or 5 quarts of oil in his engine. He has to meet a lot of requirements.
Now, guys will use different kinds of oil in qualifying. It does get rather scientific.
Oh, without a doubt, Eli. We use Unical, and we'll race 2050, but we'll qualify with like a 1030, and we'll also put some synthetic oil or some lighter lubricants in our transmission and our gear.
What does that do? How does it help?
First of all, the oil will build heat quicker, and it's got a lot less friction. And then the same thing with the differential in the rear end. You want to get as much heat in the thing as quickly as you can, so you get as much speed as you can out of the car.
Jimmy Spencer joining us this evening. Bruce is here at WTVI with a question for us. Good evening.
Good evening, Eli and Jimmy. For qualifying on your tires, does NASCAR impound your tires, or can you start the race on sticker tires?
Okay, depending on how many cars are in a position, like at Daytona, it's different because we have to run the twin 125s. But at Charlotte, they only impound the top 10.
Right.
So certain racetracks, it's usually only the top 10 qualifiers tires will impound, and sometimes it's only the top 5. But as far as the stickers versus those tires, a lot of the drivers would rather take the qualifying tires and start the race on them because they know what they did.
We showed you the Winston Cup point standings a short while ago, how tight they are. Take a look at the Max Race Card Rookie of the Year point standings right now, heading into Sunday's race. Things starting to tighten up a little bit as well. We're coming right back to more of your questions for Jimmy Spencer. Stay with us. That's the Winston Open, the race that preceded NASCAR's All-Star race, the Winston. As we look at Jimmy Spencer, this weekend, the Coke 600 starts at 4:30 in the afternoon. So you're starting in daylight, warmer temperatures, and you're going to keep running into the nighttime hours under the lights. Going to be tough chasing that race car, I think. The chassis could really give you a handful.
Oh, without a doubt, Eli. Charlotte and Michigan are the two worst tracks for the weather change affecting the surface. In turn, makes it real hard on the drivers and the crew. I tell you, though, I'm really happy that Charlotte has done this. It allows the other race to run first.
Right.
You know, and then we come to the real race in NASCAR Winston Cup. But the challenge is going to be who is the most consistent.
Yeah.
If he could be consistent in the heat, consistent in the sort of the dusk,
right,
and then on into the night, he's going to win the race. If he's real fast in the beginning, he's probably not going to be as strong at the end. So I think it's a car that's really consistent. The whole race is going to pull it off.
Just another interesting element in the strategy as we go to Saraland, Alabama. Randy watching on Sports South. Good evening.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Jimmy, Eli, nice to talk to you. Jimmy, I think you're a very good sport and a very good race driver there. Hang in there. I believe you got some good to come.
Thank you.
And what do you think about the restrictor plate, Jimmy?
Oh, it's a commonly asked question. Bobby Allison says it best. If we didn't have restrictor plates, we'd be running 230 mile an hour. It's not good. Bobby Allison almost went into the grandstands, and if that would have happened at Talladega, I don't know where we'd be today. I think the fans are enjoying restrictor plate racing. Sometimes the drivers get frustrated. I get frustrated sometimes. We come out second at Talladega, was great. Dale Jarrett won the Daytona 500. I think those two races, the Daytona 500 and the Winston 500 this year, were the two most exciting races. I watched them on film when we got home. The Daytona 500 was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then to come back at Talladega and have about 20-some cars, 3 abreast, you thought you were pacing, and you were running 195 plus. So
if there's a
I like it.
If there's a downside to it, there's almost too much to watch. I mean, you finish watching a race like that. I don't forget about broadcasting. I mean, if you're just a fan in the grandstands, that thing's over. You feel like you've driven the 500 miles because you don't know where to watch next. There's so much going on. Speaking of goings-on, the Charlotte Motor Speedway had Bush Pole qualifying yesterday and again today to set the field for Sunday's Coca-Cola 600. As promised, we'll take a complete look at the lineup as our evening continues. Here's the top 20 for Sunday. Take a look. We'll be right back. Back with you on This Week in NASCAR. There's Jimmy Spencer showing us his better side. just kidding. And crew chief Jimmy Fennig as they talk things over on the Meineke Ford Thunderbird. Welcome back. That is the better side of Jimmy Spencer. I'm Eli Gold, taking your calls and comments tonight. We've got Ed joining us here in the audience with a question. He's from Visalia, California. Good evening.
How are you, Jimmy? And Eli? Jimmy, got 2 questions. One is why you don't have a souvenir trailer. I've looked all over that track all day, whole qualifying day, all over the track. And one other question is, do they run a different, will you run a different gear for like the Charlotte, the 600, versus the race that we run in the fall for the 500 to, you know, to make the car last a little longer?
First of all, the souvenir trailer is, there is one, but it's associated with Harry Gant and Rick Mast. And I think also Terry. So we got sort of a late start on our deal, and we couldn't get a whole rig out there by itself. So next year, hopefully, we'll have our whole souvenir rig out there. But no, the engine builders are very funny. They like to turn a motor about 8,400, and they will put a gear in it that will compensate 8,400. And then as the race progresses, usually and the pace will slow down, it'll go down to about 8,100. But they'll run the same gear in the spring as they do in the fall. They feel that the extra 100 miles isn't the factor in what blows the engine up. It's just the time. And the extra 100 or 200 RPMs or so, it doesn't ever seem to matter, they say.
Let's go to Anderson, Indiana for our next question. Bill, good evening to you.
Hello, Eli.
Hi.
And hello, Jimmy.
Hey.
I got a two-part question. My first question is, are you nervous about driving the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? And my second part of my question, and I'll hang up, is are you worried about the number 4 turn, which everybody has been running into the wall since they shortened the track?
Of course,
Thank you, and I hear you.
Indianapolis is still over a year away, so you've not seen and you've not run the track with its new configuration in it.
I think that every driver in NASCAR Winston Cup would have at one time said, I would love to be in the Indy 500.
Your car owner was?
Yes, and he did well.
Yeah.
And Kyle Petty, I was at a radio show with Kyle about 3-4 days ago. He really wants to drive an Indy car in competitive competition. Me personally, I can't wait to be at Indy. I think it's a great news avenue for us, and I think that why the Indy cars are crashing is they're just trying to go so fast, just like the Winston Cup drivers. And maybe turn 4 is like turn 2 at Darlington or turn 4 at Charlotte. I'm sorry, turn 4 at Darlington. Yeah. You know, there's always a tricky part at every racetrack, and maybe Indy has turn 4. We have not raced there competitively, so to really answer that question as far as Winston Cup yet, wait till we get up there and test and give us a call back next year.
It's going to be quite a show, though. Wayne in Dothan, Alabama, watching on Sports South. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Got a question for Jimmy. I know Bobby took therapy, and he would like to be back in an automobile. Does he ever want to practice, or does he ever drive a car when you're not in a race, when he's around a racetrack, and does he get really excited and want to drive a car? And number 2 is, if it comes down to a shootout in the 600 this Sunday between you and Davy Allison, what advice would Bobby give you? Get aggressive with Mr. Excitement, or what would happen?
Good. Well, okay, first of all, Bobby Allison went through a lot of therapy through Real Life, who is one of our associate sponsors out of Alabama.
Right.
And Bobby is really, really healthy. He's improved hundreds and hundreds of a percentage. But Bobby doesn't want to race again competitively. But I think Bobby, when we go to Indy, I really think that BA will be in our car and take a lap, because it'd be worth it for him. But Bobby doesn't really want to race again, no. And we had a shot at Phoenix. Davey was leading, we were second. I come on the radio, and I said, how do I handle this car in front of me? And Bobby says, you race him like you would race anybody else. And he said, after the race, unfortunately, we had a little motor problem and ended up 5th. But Bobby Allison told me, he says, the most important thing to this team and me is we have to win first. Yes, as a father, I have to worry about Davey and Clifford. Well, Clifford's gone now, God rest his soul. But that is something that really I admire about Bobby Allison. And also, he says, you only have to beat Davey by this much.
Don't embarrass him, just
so that's all. So it's not a problem.
Jimmy Spencer is with us this evening as we take your calls on This Week in NASCAR. Let's check out starting spots 21 through 41 for Sunday's Coca-Cola 600. We'll be right back. Of WTVI Television in Charlotte, North Carolina with Jimmy Spencer. I'm Eli Gold. Now to Anoka, Minnesota for our next question. Good evening, Jim. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, Eli. Jimmy, I got one question for you guys. You know, Ford's been working a little bit with their overhead cam engine, like with that 4.6 liter. Is there anything stopping them right now from running an overhead cam in a Winston Cup car? Or if there is, would that technology, would you guys have your engineers working on that at a later date to try to develop a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more durability?
I think that NASCAR, I think that Ford is always developing everything they can. As far as NASCAR Winston Cup competition, we are not allowed overhead cam engines. So we have to have a standard camshaft, and it cannot be a roller camshaft either. So as of right now, our rules are limited to 358 cubic inch engines, and there's a lot of other rules, the heads, angles, and all those. So no, we aren't allowed overhead cam engines.
Now to Corpus Christi, Texas. Lee, good evening to you, watching on HSE.
Hello, Eli.
Hello.
We certainly appreciate your show, and boy, down here in South Texas, we're in Corpus Christi, and there's a lot of race fans.
Sure are.
And we're certainly proud of our Labontes. This is their hometown.
Sure. Your question for Jimmy.
We've, like I say, appreciated your show, and we think we're getting slacked a little bit down here because really there's not 365 speedways or raceways like Bryan and College Station, Texas World Speedway available. There's not 365. And there's so many people down here that want to not drive to Charlotte, but would drive to Bryan to see the big boys.
Yeah.
Race there.
As a matter of fact, we were chatting with some folks sitting here on the front row, the Bob Euchre seats, if you will, who are from the state of Texas and drove here to Charlotte for the weekend. But I still maintain that, NASCAR, if they could, would love to race as many places as they could. But right now, Jimmy, 30 races, next year adding in Indianapolis, plus the Busch Clash weekend, plus the Winston weekend, plus the occasional Busch Series race, the major standalone Busch Series races. It'd just be tough to add anything else to the schedule right now. But I know you folks in Texas are good supporters of that racetrack, and get out there and follow the events there, and maybe Winston Cup will be back at College Station before long. Roger is watching up in Connecticut tonight on the Madison Square Garden Network. Hello.
Hi, Eli. Hi, Jimmy.
Hello.
How you doing?
I was just wondering if Jimmy ever misses driving the open wheel modified, and if he thinks Jeff Fuller will ever be in Winston Cup.
I saw Jeff Fuller this past weekend up in Nazareth, and he said, help me, would you help me? Help me find some kind of a deal. He's a good race car driver.
Jeff Fuller's a very good race car driver. I miss it, but I moved on from that to Busch and in the Winston Cup. The only thing I have to say about the NASCAR modified guys, Jeff ProNyne and Brett ProNyne and Jimmy Spencer and Greg Sachs.
Yeah.
We did it. We came down here, we took it, and challenged ourselves and went for it. Those guys, that's what they have to do. I can't answer that for them.
It's a gutsy move to just pick up and move and take your family and live in a motor home somewhere to wait and see if it all works out, but oftentimes that's what it takes. Quick reminder again about our next couple of shows. This week in NASCAR moves on to the nation's capital area next Thursday night. We'll be in Bethesda, Maryland, right there in downtown at the studios of Home Team Sports. We've got Coach Joe Gibbs and Dale Jarrett joining us. And again, tune in right here on Prime Network because the studio audience next week is by invitation only. In 2 weeks, Pocono, Pennsylvania will be on Route 940 at the Ramada Inn in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. It's been our headquarters up there in the Poconos for years. Come on by and join us in person. We'd love to see you there on This Week in NASCAR. Now let's check out for you the Busch Series lineup. The top 20 is set for Saturday's Champion Spark Plug 300. Tracy Leslie on the pole. Spencer, let's go to Atlanta, Georgia for our next question. Michael, watching on Sports South. Hello.
Hello, Eli. Hello, Jimmy. We really love your show.
Thanks, sir.
My question is, I was wondering about this, me and my wife was reading about this tax law they're coming out with about the effect of sponsorship. Will that dampen the sport? What could us as a fan do to prevent this?
Good question. I know NASCAR did a good bit of lobbying about 3 weeks ago. A number of the drivers went up to Washington to meet with their local representatives, senators, and so on, to try and discuss what has up to this point been an 80% tax deductibility when you have luxury suites and you entertain clients and so on. And under the proposed economic plan from the Clinton administration, those deductibilities would drop to 50%. And the trickle-down effect, less people going to the races, less entertainment, less work for the caterers, less hotel rooms to be sold, and so on. So NASCAR has taken a very active stance, along with other professional sports, in lobbying on Capitol Hill to see what their input might be able to mean for the future. But still, at this point, no determination. But a good question, and I know everybody appreciates your interest, certainly. Let's go again with a question from Georgia. Al is in Marietta. Good evening.
Hi, yes. Jimmy, I was just asking about if it's easier to race at night or in the daytime, how the track reacts to the tires.
And how about visibility? Pretty good at night?
I think it's good at night, but naturally it's a lot better in the daytime. But I think night racing has opened up a whole new avenue, being in prime time, so to speak. And there's not a whole lot of difference, really. They've done such good work at Lighton, Bristol, and Richmond, and now Charlotte. My God, what an undertaking. But I think that you're going to see a mixed deal there, where some of the other tracks might go lighting, but still probably about 80% of them are still going to be under the daylight.
Now down to the port city of Mobile, Alabama for our next call. Good evening, Al. How are you tonight?
How's it going, Jim?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, man, I hope you do well this week.
Thank you.
What is wrong with Bill Elliott?
You know all the answers.
He's offered me a lot of money to tell him.
It's been one of the great mysteries of '93, really.
You know, let's go back this time last year. What was wrong with Dale Earnhardt? Something has happened. The chemistry is not working quite right. We need to make a couple personnel changes. And once that happens, I think the team will be back on top. There is nothing wrong with Bill Elliott.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with Junior Johnson. It's something's just not meshing there quite right. And it'll turn around for him.
Really strange. By this time last year, Bill had 4 wins already. This year, we were just talking, he hasn't even led a single lap all season. Jim has a quick question for us this evening in Muskegon, Michigan. Hello, Jim.
Hi, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Time is short, sir.
Okay, I'd like to know if you've ever heard of Port City Racing, and if you have, how do you feel about their chassis setup? They're from Muskegon, and they have a plant in North Carolina.
I'm not really all that familiar.
Port City Racing is a ASA-type car. And in fact, I'm going to run Brainerd, Minnesota, and I don't know what chassis it is, but I know Port City does a lot of winning in ASA, and I think that they're a good car.
We're going to come back and wind up with Jimmy Spencer, taking more of your calls and comments as time permits. But right now, we'd like for you to take a look at the folks who make this show possible from our side of the TV screen, our sponsors, and more from you as soon as we come back. Time this evening as we chat for another moment or so with Jimmy Spencer. Let's talk about car setup. This is only Thursday. You've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to prepare a car that qualified in the 20s for Sunday's race. Got another day and a half to thrash on the Busch Series car for Jack Ingram that you're driving. It too qualified in the 20s. What do you work on first thing tomorrow?
I wish that I could work fixing my qualifying period this year. We've hot and cold. We did well at Talladega, Daytona, and not as well as we wanted to at certain other places. But what you really try for is a good, tight race car that's going to stay with you all day on old tires, and you still need to be consistent. That's what you shoot for tomorrow afternoon in both cars. Well, tomorrow's not Winston Cup, but just the Busch.
Right.
And then on in Saturday to the Winston Cup. That's what you aim for, so that the car is very, very comfortable and consistent. And you can push the pedal for 500 miles, 600 miles Sunday, 300 miles on Saturday.
Jimmy, it's always a treat having you on the show, and best of luck to you this year and for many years to come. We're all expecting some great things from you.
Thanks, Eli. Pleasure to be here.
Jimmy Spencer, driver of the Meineke Ford, joining us tonight on This Week in NASCAR. A quick reminder again that next Thursday night, I wish we could have each and every one of you in the studios there in Bethesda, Maryland, but unfortunately the space constraints being what they are, that our show from Home Team Sports is by invitation only. But you folks are invited to tune in right here on your Prime Network affiliate. We've got Dale Jarrett and Coach Joe Gibbs joining us. That's next Thursday evening, right here on This Week in NASCAR. For all of us here in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm Eli Gold. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night, everyone.
We'd like to hear from you, so write us at